Throughout history, humanity has celebrated tales of bravery, sacrifice, and loyalty. Most often, these stories highlight the actions of soldiers, leaders, and individuals who gave everything for a cause greater than themselves. But some of the most profound acts of courage did not come from men or women. They came from dogs. These four-legged companions have stood by humanity's side for thousands of years, not just as pets, but as protectors, guides, and saviors. Unlike humans, they never asked for glory, medals, or recognition. They never acted out of ambition or duty. Instead, their sacrifices were born from instinct, love, and an unwavering bond with the people they cared for. This is why dogs hold a special place in our hearts. They are loyal even in the darkest of times, fearless when danger strikes, and selfless to the point of giving their lives to protect others. Their heroism is not learned. It is part of who they are. Whether it was a dog leaping in front of danger to protect a child, guiding a blind owner down burning towers, charging at wild predators to shield families, or braving war zones beside soldiers, these acts prove that bravery knows no species. When we speak of dogs who gave their lives for humans, we are not merely recalling animal stories. We are honoring guardians who acted out of pure devotion. Each one reminds us that love and sacrifice transcend words, that the bond between humans and dogs is one of the most powerful partnerships in history. These dogs represent courage in its purest form, uncalculated, unselfish, and unshaken. This is not just a documentary about dogs. This is about the ultimate sacrifices made by beings who could have walked away, but instead chose to protect us. It is about loyalty so deep it defies explanation, and about the silent, powerful lessons we can learn from our canine heroes. So sit back, open your heart, and join me on this emotional journey. Together, we will explore the incredible true stories of dogs who gave everything, even their lives, so that humans could live. Their names, their stories, and their courage deserve to be remembered for generations to come. Because in honoring them, we honor the very essence of loyalty and love. 1. Kabang, the hero of the Philippines. In 2011, in the bustling streets of Zamboanga City, Philippines, a small, scruffy dog named Kabang proved that true heroism can come in the most unexpected form. Kabang was not a pedigreed show dog, nor a trained service animal. She was a humble, mixed-breed street dog who had become part of a local family. Her days were simple, playing with the children, guarding the home, and living the quiet, uncelebrated life of countless village dogs. Yet on one fateful day, her loyalty and courage would elevate her into legend. Two young girls, Kabang's owner's daughter and niece, were crossing a busy road when danger appeared. A motorcycle sped toward them at alarming speed. In such moments, most animals, and even many humans, would instinctively run away to save themselves. But Kabang acted differently. Without hesitation, she hurled herself into the path of the motorcycle, slamming into it with her small body. That split-second decision knocked the girls clear of the bike's path, saving their lives. The children escaped unharmed, but Kabang paid a terrible price. The collision tore away her snout and upper jaw completely. The sight was horrific. Blood poured, her face mangled beyond recognition. Many thought she would die within hours. But Kabang, even gravely injured, clung to life. Her determination stunned her community, who began calling her a true hero. News of Kabang's sacrifice spread quickly across the Philippines and soon around the world. Donations poured in from international supporters who wanted to help her receive surgery and medical treatment. Veterinarians in the United States worked to stabilize her condition, though her face could never be restored. Yet despite her disfigurement, Kabang continued to live for nearly a decade after the accident. Everywhere she went, she was a living reminder of loyalty and sacrifice. A dog who gave her face so that two children could live. In May 2021, Kabang passed away peacefully at the age of 13. Her death was mourned not just in Zamboanga City, but worldwide. Statues and murals have been made in her honor, ensuring her story will never be forgotten. Kabang was not a dog defined by what she lost, but by what she gave. A sacrifice that... 2. Sirius, the only canine lost in 9/11, September 11th, 2001. A day forever etched in the memory of the world. The horrific attacks on the Twin Towers in New York City claimed thousands of innocent lives and reshaped history. Among the many heroes who answered the call that day, firefighters, police officers, paramedics, and everyday citizens were the K9 officers, loyal dogs who stood beside their human partners in service and duty. One of those dogs was Sirius, a yellow Labrador retriever with the Port Authority Police Department. Sirius was no ordinary dog. He was highly trained in explosive detection, tasked with sniffing out threats and keeping one of the busiest hubs in New York safe. Alongside his handler, Officer David Lim, he worked daily to protect commuters and travelers. But on that fateful morning, their routine was shattered by the unimaginable. When the first plane struck the North Tower, Officer Lim responded immediately to the crisis. Believing he would quickly return, he left Sirius in his kennel at the base of the South Tower. His intention was to come back and retrieve his partner once he had assessed the situation. But events spiraled faster than anyone could have imagined. Before Lim could return, the towers collapsed, burying Sirius beneath the rubble. Sirius was killed instantly. He became the only official K9 officer lost in the September 11th attacks. Months later, during recovery operations, rescue workers discovered his remains. What followed was a deeply moving scene. Sirius was draped in the American flag, carried out with the same honor and respect given to every fallen officer. Fellow police officers saluted him, acknowledging that his service and sacrifice were no less important than that of any human first responder. Though Sirius's life ended that morning, his story continues to symbolize the loyalty and courage of all the dogs who worked tirelessly at Ground Zero. Dozens of canines assisted in the search for survivors and recovery of victims, braving smoke, fire, and toxic dust. Many of them later suffered long-term health problems, with some ultimately giving their lives because of what they endured. Sirius represents more than just one dog's sacrifice. He embodies the spirit of devotion that service animals bring to their work, standing side by side with humans in moments of unimaginable crisis. His name lives on in memorials. 3. Barry, the rescue dog of the Swiss Alps. Long before helicopters, radios, or advanced rescue teams existed, the snowy peaks of the Swiss Alps were a place of both beauty and danger. Travelers often crossed treacherous mountain passes, where avalanches, snowstorms, and freezing temperatures claimed countless lives. But in the 1800s, one dog became a symbol of salvation in those icy mountains, a Saint Bernard named Barry. Barry worked alongside monks at the Great Saint Bernard Hospice, a shelter built high in the mountains to aid stranded travelers. The monks were known for their courage in rescuing lost souls, but they did not work alone. Their powerful, loyal dogs, the ancestors of today's Saint Bernard breed, were indispensable partners in these life-saving missions. Among them, Barry stood out for his remarkable bravery and intuition. Stories of Barry's rescues spread far beyond the mountains. Again and again, he ventured into blizzards, dug through snow, and located those buried alive by avalanches. One of his most famous rescues involved a small child who had been swallowed by snow. Barry dug the boy free, gently warmed him with his body, and astonishingly carried him on his back all the way to safety. Such intelligence and compassion cemented his reputation as not just a working dog, but a true guardian angel of the Alps. Historians believe Barry saved more than 40 lives during his service, an extraordinary number, especially considering the dangers he faced on each mission. But even heroes are not immune to tragedy. On one rescue, Barry encountered a disoriented traveler who, in a panic, mistook him for a wolf. In the confusion, the man fatally wounded the very creature who had come to save him. The monks, who loved and honored Barry deeply, ensured his sacrifice would not be forgotten. They preserved his body and placed him on display in Switzerland, where he remains a national treasure. Today, Barry is remembered as the most famous rescue dog in history, a symbol of courage, loyalty, and selfless service. His name is given to generations of St. Bernards at the hospice, ensuring that his spirit lives on in every rescue dog that follows. Barry's legacy teaches us that heroism isn't limited to humans. In the freezing silence of the Alps, one dog proved that loyalty, compassion, and sacrifice can. 4. Delta, the military hero of Afghanistan. In the unforgiving terrain of Afghanistan, where danger hid behind every ridge and silence often meant ambush, U.S. Special Forces relied not only on their training and weapons, but also on their loyal canine partners. Among these warriors was Delta, a Belgian Malinois whose courage would leave an indelible mark on his unit. Belgian Malinois are often chosen for military service because of their intelligence, speed, and unshakable loyalty. Delta was no exception. Trained in explosive detection and combat support, he was more than a working dog. He was a soldier in every sense. His sharp senses often provided early warnings of hidden dangers, and his presence gave his handler a vital edge in the unpredictable chaos of war. One mission, however, would seal Delta's place in history. His unit found itself pinned down under relentless enemy gunfire. The air was filled with dust, bullets, and the deafening sound of battle. In the midst of that chaos, Delta's instincts took over. He saw his handler exposed and vulnerable, and without hesitation, he launched himself forward. Delta's leap was not an act of training, but of pure loyalty. He positioned himself between his handler and the incoming fire, shielding the soldier with his own body. In those desperate seconds, Delta absorbed the fatal shots meant for his partner. His sacrifice created just enough time for the handler and his comrades to regain cover and survive the attack. When the battle ended, silence fell over the unit. Soldiers who had witnessed countless losses in war now faced a different kind of grief. They carried Delta's body back with the same reverence and honor reserved for their human brothers in arms. To them, Delta was not just a dog. He was a warrior, a protector, and a member of their family. Delta's story echoes the truth that loyalty knows no species, and that bravery is not measured by the number of legs one stands on. His sacrifice served as a reminder that in the crucible of war, bonds are forged not only between soldiers, but also between man and dog. In the rugged mountains where courage was the only constant, Delta proved that sometimes the bravest soldier doesn't carry a rifle. He carries loyalty in his heart and gives everything for the one he loves. 5. Gabi, the zoo guardian. In 1987, a quiet day at Belgrade Zoo in Serbia turned into a scene of panic and fear. A jaguar, one of the zoo's most powerful predators, had escaped its enclosure. With people nearby and the zookeeper at risk, every second counted. An apex predator on the loose meant disaster was imminent. But standing between chaos and safety was not another human. It was a German shepherd named Gabi. Loyal, fearless, and devoted to her handler, Gabi did not hesitate when danger appeared. The jaguar prowled closer, ready to strike, but Gabi rushed forward without a moment's pause. What followed was nothing short of heroic. Gabi threw herself at the jaguar, teeth bared and body braced for impact. The fight was brutal. She latched onto the predator, buying precious time as the zookeepers scrambled to contain the crisis. For long minutes, Gabi wrestled with the jaguar, her smaller frame no match in strength but unmatched in courage. The zookeepers finally managed to recapture the jaguar before it could reach the terrified visitors. Their success was only possible because Gabi had given them those critical moments to act. But her bravery came at the highest cost. Gravely injured during the struggle, Gabi succumbed to her wounds. Her death was not in vain. Countless lives were spared because of her selfless decision to face a predator head-on. For the zookeeper she protected and the people she saved, Gabi became more than a guard dog. She became a savior. The zoo honored her sacrifice by burying her within its grounds, where her memory lives on. A plaque marks her grave, serving as a reminder to every visitor that true heroism is not limited to humans. It is etched into the loyalty of a dog who, when faced with a deadly threat, chose to fight rather than flee. Gabi's story is one of unwavering devotion. She did not weigh the risks or hesitate in fear. She acted purely out of loyalty and love, giving everything to protect those around her. To this day, Her grave at Belgrade Zoo stands as a quiet monument to the idea that courage comes in many forms, and sometimes it walks on four legs. 6. Laika, the space dog. Not all sacrifices take place on the battlefield or in daily life. Some happen far beyond the Earth itself. In 1957, during the height of the space race, the Soviet Union prepared to make history. They launched Sputnik 2, the second-ever artificial satellite to orbit Earth. But this mission carried something far more extraordinary than machinery: a living passenger. Her name was Laika, a small stray dog found wandering the streets of Moscow. Laika was chosen for her calm temperament and resilience. Soviet scientists believed a stray dog would better endure the harsh conditions of spaceflight, having already survived the cold and hunger of city streets. But behind the scientific breakthrough was a devastating truth. The mission had no plan for return. Laika was never expected to survive. On November 3, 1957, Laika was placed inside a cramped capsule. As the rocket engines roared and the ground fell away, she endured the unimaginable terror of launch. Against all odds, she became the first living creature to orbit Earth. Humanity had taken its first step toward the stars, but Laika paid the ultimate price. Within just a few hours, the heat and stress inside the capsule became unbearable. Laika died from overheating, alone in the silence of space. Her passing sparked outrage and grief around the world. For many, she became not just a symbol of scientific progress, but also a reminder of the ethical costs behind such advancements. Yet her sacrifice changed history. The data gathered from her journey proved that living beings could endure space travel, paving the way for Yuri Gagarin's flight only a few years later, and eventually for humankind's exploration of the moon and beyond. Without Laika, the timeline of human space exploration might have been very different. Laika's story remains both heartbreaking and inspiring. She did not choose her destiny, yet her courage carried humanity into a new era. Today, she is remembered not just as a test subject, but as a pioneer, a small stray dog who helped open the door to the cosmos. Her sacrifice proves that even the most overlooked lives can change the course of history, reminding us that true heroes come in many forms, sometimes with four legs and a wagging tail. 7. Salty and Roselle, the guide dog heroes. Of September 11, 2001, remains etched in history as one of the darkest days in America. Amid the chaos, as thousands struggled to escape the collapsing Twin Towers, two extraordinary dogs proved that heroism comes not from size or strength, but from loyalty and trust. Their names were Salty and Roselle. Salty, a yellow Labrador retriever, and Roselle, a golden retriever, were guide dogs for two blind men caught inside the World Trade Center when the plane struck. Both were on high floors, surrounded by smoke, confusion, and terrified crowds. For their handlers, navigating the 70 or more flights of stairs to safety should have been impossible. But with their dogs by their side, they had a chance. Roselle was guiding Michael Hingson, calmly leading him down 78 floors of Tower 1. The stairwells were filled with smoke, heat, and screaming voices, yet Roselle never faltered. Step by step, she moved with precision and focus, ignoring the chaos all around. Even as the tower began to rumble and collapse behind them, she guided Hingson safely out of the building and away from danger. Meanwhile, Salty was with Omar Rivera on the 71st floor. At one point, Rivera tried to release Salty so the dog could run free and save himself, but Salty refused. He pressed against his handler's leg and insisted on staying, no matter the risk. Together, they navigated the dark stairwell and reached the ground, alive because Salty never abandoned his duty. Both men survived solely because of their dog's unshakable loyalty. Their calmness in the face of chaos was nothing short of miraculous. But the heroism of 9/11's dogs did not end that day. Many service dogs and search and rescue dogs worked tirelessly at Ground Zero in the days and weeks that followed, digging through rubble, locating survivors, and offering comfort to rescuers. Tragically, Many later suffered fatal illnesses from prolonged exposure to toxic dust. Salty and Roselle lived on after September 11th, celebrated as living heroes. They became symbols of what it means to trust and to love without condition. Their story, and the sacrifices of all the dogs of 9/11, remind us that courage isn't about being fearless. 8. Balto, Togo, and the Serum Run. In the winter of 1925, the remote town of Nome, Alaska faced a nightmare. A diphtheria outbreak threatened to wipe out its children, and without medicine, the disease would spread unchecked. The only serum that could save them was hundreds of miles away in Anchorage. With planes grounded by brutal blizzards and ships locked in ice, the town's only hope rested on sled dogs. What followed became known as the Great Race of Mercy. A relay of mushers and their dog teams carried the serum across nearly 700 miles of frozen wilderness. The journey tested every limit of endurance: raging winds, whiteout conditions, and temperatures plunging to minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit. For the dogs, it was a battle against both nature and exhaustion. Two names stand out from this historic mission: Balto and Togo. Balto, a Siberian husky, led the final leg of the relay into Nome, guiding his team through a blizzard so fierce that visibility was nearly zero. He carried the serum safely into town, cementing his place in history as the face of the mission. Statues and fame would follow, but Balto's triumph was possible only because of the work done before him. Togo, another Siberian husky, was older but unmatched in skill. Alongside his musher, Leonard Seppala, Togo covered the most dangerous and grueling stretch of the relay, nearly 260 miles of treacherous ice, snow, and open water. His endurance and intelligence saved the serum from disaster multiple times. Without Togo, the mission might never have succeeded. But for every Balto and Togo, there were countless other sled dogs who gave everything on that journey. Many collapsed from frostbite, hunger, or sheer exhaustion. Some never made it home. Their sacrifice is less remembered, but no less important. They were the beating heart of the Great Race of Mercy, and their efforts saved an entire generation of children in Nome. Today, statues of Balto stand in New York's Central Park in Cleveland, while Togo has finally received the recognition he deserves as the true hero of the long journey. Yet beyond individual fame, their story is a tribute to all the sled dogs whose strength, loyalty, and sacrifice turned an impossible mission into a miracle. They remind us that sometimes history's greatest heroes are not human. 9. Unsung heroes, dogs who protect their families. Not every hero's name is written in history books, and not every act of bravery is remembered by the world. Yet across the globe, countless dogs have made the ultimate sacrifice, their stories known only to the families and lives they touched. These are the unnamed heroes, the loyal companions who gave everything for love. There are tales of pets leaping into rivers to save drowning children, pulling them to shore with all their strength. Many succeeded, but some were swept away by the current, giving their own lives so a child could breathe again. In those final moments, there was no hesitation, only instinct and devotion. Other stories tell of family dogs standing between their loved ones and danger, lunging at armed intruders, facing down wild animals, or barking warnings that gave their families just enough time to escape. In these confrontations, many dogs were fatally injured, yet their sacrifice meant survival for the people they loved most. These dogs may never have parades held in their honor or statues built in their likeness, but their memory lives on in the quiet places where it matters most, in the hearts of the people they saved. For those families, every wagging tail, every bark, every act of loyalty is etched forever as proof that love can be braver than fear. The power of these stories lies not in fame, but in their universality. Somewhere, every day, a dog is proving the depth of its loyalty. Sometimes the world hears about it, and sometimes it does not. But to the ones who were saved, these sacrifices are unforgettable. The unnamed heroes remind us that courage is not defined by recognition, but by action. A hero does not need an audience, only a heart willing to give everything. These dogs, ordinary in the eyes of the world, became extraordinary through their love. In the end, whether their names are known or not, their legacy is the same. They were more than pets. They were protectors, guardians, and family. And for the lives they saved, they will always be heroes. From the snowy peaks of the Swiss Alps to the burning towers of New York, from the war-torn mountains of Afghanistan to the crowded streets of the Philippines, one truth has echoed across time. Dogs are far more than companions. They are protectors, guardians, and heroes whose loyalty has no limit. Unlike human heroes, dogs never ask for recognition. They don't wear medals, pose for photographs, or demand applause. Their courage is silent, instinctive, and rooted in love. They act not for glory, but because their bond with us is unshakable. And in that bond, they find the strength to face dangers that even humans sometimes fear to confront. Kabang, who gave her face to save two little girls. Sirius, who stood watch on September 11th and became the only official canine lost that day. Barry, the Saint Bernard who saved dozens before being tragically mistaken for a threat. Delta, the Belgian Malinois who shielded his handler in Afghanistan. Gabby, who stood against a jaguar to protect her zookeeper. Laika, the stray who sacrificed her life in space so humans could one day reach the stars. Salty and Roselle, who calmly led their blind owners down countless flights of stairs as the Twin Towers crumbled. Balto and Togo, who braved the Alaskan wilderness to deliver life-saving medicine. And the countless unnamed dogs whose acts of loyalty, though never written into history books, live forever in the hearts of those they saved. Their stories prove something profound. Courage is not measured in size, strength, or even species. Sometimes the bravest hearts beat inside bodies covered in fur, carried on four legs, with wagging tails that never falter, even in the face of danger. As we reflect on their sacrifices, let us not only remember these dogs, but also honor them in our own lives. Every dog that greets us at the door, everyone that curls up beside us, carries within it the same love and loyalty as these heroes. Their everyday devotion is a quiet miracle, a reminder of how lucky humanity is to share its world with them. This was dogs who gave their lives to save humans. If their stories touched you, keep their memory alive by sharing this video and by cherishing the dogs in your own life. For in their loyalty, we see the purest form